Judith Hill reporting, and to discuss the issues raised, the DUP's Emma Little-Pengelly, the Ulster Unionist Danny Kennedy, Alliance's Paula Bradshaw, and in our Northwest studio, Sinn Féin's Cathal Ó hOisín. We had asked the SDLP for a spokesman, but they were unable to come up with one. Emma Little-Pengelly, after 10 years in government, what do you have to show for dealing with the big social issues of the day?
Well, it's not at all unusual in terms, particularly of coalition government, that there will be issues where there isn't any agreement. Even if you look back at the Conservative and Liberal Democrat coalition, they couldn't get agreement on issues such as childcare and tuition fees. So it's not unusual that there will be, and there will always remain, issues where you can't get consensus or agreement. Parties will have a range of different views on particular issues. They will lobby for that, they will make their case, but it is not unusual that there won't always be agreement on every issue.
Cathal Ó hOisín, how frustrating is it then for Sinn Féin?
It is quite frustrating because we would campaign, and we are campaigning in this election, on the three tenets of respect, equality and integrity, and that's what this campaign and that's what this election really should be about. And we treat, of all those three, we treat equality as one of the most important, whether that is equality in marriage, equality in women's rights, or equality for minorities or linguistic rights. So that's the very important for us, and those are our central tenets at this election, and those should be to the fore and front, right, instead of what we are looking at.
Okay, Danny Kennedy, you've got to be afraid, don't you, that you can't walk too far ahead of your electorate on an issue like this?
Well, I think it's a matter for each individual party, and of course the Ulster Unionist Party, which I'm part of, allows individual members, their own personal view based on conscience. And my strong belief is that I'm opposed to any extension of the 1967 Abortion Act to Northern Ireland, and I'm also opposed to same-sex marriage. So, but you know, there is freedom of thought within the political party that I'm part of, and sometimes that can lead to differences. But that's a healthy thing in any democracy.
But you can hold opposing views.
Yes, and that's not considered a fault within the party, and it encourages some debate.
Paula Bradshaw, Alliance is very open on this, isn't it?
Well, we have a policy on marriage equality in Northern Ireland, and it relates to civil marriage. I think that in this debate people get that sometimes mixed up with the religious ceremony of marriage. Our proposals would be around freedom of and freedom from religion, and the proposals that Naomi Long was bringing forward under her private members bill under the last mandate was to put those safeguards in place for faith organisations. As regard abortion, it is a matter of conscience within the Alliance Party, but David Ford, for example, was bringing forward his own private members bill for abortion on cases of fetal abnormality.
And it's a bill that many people in Northern Ireland would oppose.
Well, they can oppose it, and this is a democratic assembly as such, and that is why we need to see reform of things like the petition of concern, so that we can have democratic...
Which is what I want to come to now with Emma Little-Pengelly, because the DUP has used the petition of concern to block, but now we're hearing that this petition of concern might go.
Well, I think first of all it's important to say that issues such as the termination of pregnancy goes at the very heart of, as you've indicated, conscience. People have religious views on this, but I also believe that this is something that's very much about looking at the intelligent look, very much at where life begins. And that is a very serious discussion to be had. It's not straightforward in any way. And very many people feel very strongly about this. And people often talk about abortion reform being progressive. And in fact, very many people I speak to out there would see abortion, an extension of the 1967 Act here, to be a regressive move. In relation to the petition of concern,
because
my party
it's been
leader,
used very effectively.
Well, my party leader, Arlene Foster, has indicated, and this has been our position for some considerable time, that we would welcome discussions about getting rid of the petition of concern completely.
Great.
But this idea of a pick and mix for people in the Assembly to select what issues they wanted to be used for and what issues it can't be used for is not right, and it's not democratic.
Cathal Ó hOisín, you demand equality on issues like same-sex marriage. How soon do you expect that?
Well, the debate has started and it is welcome, and we've seen the change that has happened post the referendum in the South. And whilst we are opposed to the introduction of the 1967 Abortion Act, we do recognise that there is a requirement there for some change in the 1861 Offences Against the Person Act, which criminalises abortion in cases such as fatal fetal abnormality, where there is an inviable pregnancy, or indeed in the cases of rape and indeed familial incest. So that, we know that debate has started. It will progress. It does address all of those social issues, and it does reflect a wider change in society.
But you will also accept that there are people watching tonight who would be totally and utterly opposed to what you've just been talking about.
Yes, there are, and that's the nature of society. But we must reflect what people want out there in society, and we have seen a sea change, perhaps, in what the social discussion is about, and I think that has to be welcomed.
Paula Bradshaw, are there some cases where you would want to make abortion legal in Northern Ireland?
Well, just to take it right back to the start, and I think we are all in agreement that we don't want to see the 1967 Act brought in as it is. It was bad law then and it's bad law now. It was 50 years ago. What we do need is reform of abortion law in Northern Ireland, and that would look at things like the criminalisation of women who are accessing abortion pills online, about the women who are going over to England, facing crisis pregnancies, going over... They will not have taken that decision lightly, and I think that it's wrong for us to categorise them as in a bad light.
OK, Danny Kennedy, I mean, abortion is one of a number of issues that we're talking about here. After the election, do you think that you can reach consensus?
I think much depends on the outcome of that election, and I have to say the social issues haven't featured largely at the doors, certainly the doors that I've knocked in my constituency, and yet it remains obviously a very important issue. I think it's an issue that we need to look at carefully and with respect, and I have to say the Christian position has to be respected properly, and I'm not sure that that has been the case in the past. But look, there are huge political issues that need to be addressed. Stormont needs to work for people. Stormont needs to change. And Stormont needs to produce something that will last.
Thank you. A quick wrap from each of you. Paula Bradshaw, do you think we'll be having this conversation again in a few years?
Well, I hope not. I hope that after we get back that serious negotiations and talks and reform comes forward, and at the top of that is petition of concern.
Cathal Ó, hOisín, do you think we'll be having this conversation in years to come?
No, I certainly hope not, but I do hope that we actually can address the issues that are brought around this election, and that is the integrity of the institutions, the integrity of the Assembly itself, and the integrity of a Good Friday Agreement.
Emma Little-Pengelly.
Well, I think, as I've outlined, some of these issues, such as the termination of pregnancy, is a life and death issue. There has to be a discussion about when life begins, absolutely, but I don't see any agreement on those issues.
Panel, thank you very much indeed.